Jordan's subjective.
Jordan's subjective.
Jordan's subjective.
Jordan's subjective perspective.
Yeah, it's funny. I've eaten like 2 full pizzas back-to-back days the past 2 days. Ridiculous.
I mean, 2 pizzas a day?
Like, in one sitting. I'll just sit and just eat the entire, like, Little Caesars pizza.
And then another one after that?
Not like back-to-back, but like on Saturday I ate an entire pizza, and then on Sunday I did an entire
on
pizza.
Saturday you ate 2 pizzas in one sitting.
Oh, no. That would be impressive. That would be impressive. See, I was impressed with myself for eating one whole entire pizza in one sitting, but now you just belittled me. So.
Little Caesars pizza, one of those in a sitting. Yeah, that would be. I'd be impressed too. When I eat it, it would be like a triumphant last bite.
Yeah.
Because like the pizza I just ate a little while ago, wasn't a small, but I'd say a medium. One hungry person will easily finish.
Okay, absolutely.
But
yeah, the difference really is thin crust versus thick crust.
Mm-hmm. You like the thin, you say?
I like thin, like personal preference.
Too. Me too.
But if I'm looking like money's worth, then I'm thinking thick. But for taste preference, yeah, absolutely thin. Actually, I ran a half marathon for the first time yesterday.
You run a half marathon?
And that was my reward, was eating an entire pizza.
Did you eat it before you took off?
No, after. The last 2 miles, I was just thinking, I want that pizza. I want that pizza. That's all I could think about.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Get stuff done. Just have something waiting for you.
True. Having something to look forward to.
See, the problem is when I try to do that, I'll just be like, oh, well, I'll just do the thing that I'm looking forward to first.
Yeah.
And then I'll take care of what I need to do.
I'll just run to the pizza store. Justification. Just jog right over there real quick.
The pizza example would be weird to do first. But, but that's funny. Yeah.
And at the end of the half marathon, my nipples were bleeding.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Disgusting, man.
What are you talking about? Are you kidding?
I was just, like, my legs were pretty numb at the end, and because I was dehydrated going into it, because I did not prepare well. But at the end, my they weren't like bleeding like terribly, but like there was some blood.
Well, why were they bleeding? Because they're dry. They're dry.
I think just over time, just rubbing up against it.
Rub it like with your shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny. My hands used to get so dry that they would bleed. Well, like when I was a little kid.
Is that eczema?
That's what that's called?
Yeah. My sister used to have it. Eczema.
I guess
eczema.
I guess you get rid of it then afterwards. Like,
should I Google it?
Yeah, go ahead and Google
eczema.
it. They've never diagnosed me as that. But when I was a little kid, I would even use lotion, whatever. But my hands were just so damn crinkly and dry that they would just flake open and they would kind of bleed. It would look like I would get in a fight when in school because there would be they would look like little scratches on my
Alex,
nose.
what'd you do? Come on, Alex.
I ain't got no fights in
You got another fight today?
But yeah.
Have you ever been in a fight?
To be quite honest with you, yes, I've been in one.
Really? How old is this?
High school. Can't remember exactly the age. I guess that would have been the summer after, either the summer after sophomore year or the summer after freshman year. I guess the summer after freshman year. But long story short, I got very, very drunk, and I was at the party, and I was with somebody that I kind of liked, and we were really good friends, and she had a boyfriend that was cheating on her at the party.
Oh, wow.
And then I tried to start some shit, I guess.
With the boyfriend?
Yeah.
Oh, to stand up for the girl.
Kinda, yeah, I guess. But I was drunk, everyone was drunk, and it was ridiculous, and it wasn't good, and and apparently we fought it out, and yeah, I got very drunk that day. I used to actually drink a little bit in high school, more than I do now, probably.
Yeah, because I was going to say, that surprised me whenever you said you
okay, I don't
drunk, because I
don't drink more than I do, or I didn't drink more than I do now. In high school, I got drunker more than I do now.
Okay,
because I don't really get drunk very often. I like getting strongly tipsy, but I really don't get drunk too often. It's always like whoa, Alex is actually feeling it.
Yeah.
Like when I actually do get drunk.
Versus
But
in high school, whenever you get the
in
opportunity
high school,
to
it's
drink,
like a party.
it's like, let's go!
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And so it's like that, but nope, that's the only one. There's been no others. I hope I don't need to get another one. I will, but not for a reason like that. There would have to be a real reason.
Getting mugged or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, getting mugged or someone like threatening someone.
That's how I am. Like I'm all about peace. Like I'll be the first person to be like, yo, like peace is
The
definitely
peaceful way has got to be
But
the
like
first option.
sometimes fighting is necessary. It
Yeah,
absolutely
deny it,
is.
yeah.
Like if you're getting mugged on the streets or like you see some injustice going on, you see some girl getting like possibly going to get raped, like you might have to step in. You might
yeah, you should then. For
you might have a
sure.
moral
I'd
responsibility
say-
to beat some ass
I'd say so, yeah.
and have some fun doing it.
You bastard.
You bastard.
Kicking them. But yeah, no, the peaceful way is definitely the first.
I could proudly say I've never been in a fight.
The first way, right on?
I've
That's
been in
good.
like somewhat of a fight, but not really. Got in little tussles when I was in like grade school.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I haven't been in a. I feel like I haven't been in whatever a mature fight is. I haven't been in like a duel that feels like, yeah, I got some shit with this person. He's got some shit with me, and we got to duke it out. Like I haven't had that experience yet. I almost kind of want to, but nah, not really.
I like how
If
you
it's-
worded it, a duel.
It depends how serious it is, I guess. But like, it sounds like a funny experience to have, I guess. I don't have any. Well, at least on my end, I could be unaware. There could be so many people out there that are like, yeah, Alex, he doesn't know, but I view him as my worst enemy ever. Like, but I don't view any. I feel like I don't have a nemesis. You know? Do you feel like you have a nemesis, really?
I wouldn't say I do either.
I feel like most people probably wouldn't, even though I know people in my life that they have a nemesis.
I had this girl in high
it's
school.
always that. Oh,
We like did not get along at all, but that's probably the closest thing. But like that was back in high school. I haven't seen this girl or talked to this girl in years. But besides that, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I need a nemesis. You know, maybe that'll motivate me to do something. You know,
do something.
it's like, oh, I
show
want to
you.
stay in bed today, but my nemesis is out there doing something.
He's kicking ass and
Yeah.
making money, and I gotta do this.
I gotta do some push-ups today.
Yeah, there you go. You could just create. You create someone in your mind. This could be an exercise. You create someone in your mind that you view as just like ultimately better at everything that you do, and he tries to foil your plan. So then you just
There you
do
go.
better. Do better.
But is
That'd be
that-
a really psychotic method. But
Is that good to be motivated by that hate, though?
I don't think
Or,
so.
or does it matter? If you're getting
Honestly-
to your destination, does it matter where your gas tank's full?
Honestly, I don't know. I guess it depends how you view. I can't say that it absolutely wouldn't work, but I don't know. It depends if they get consumed by their hallucination they've created in their mind about it. If it becomes like a real thing that it like begins, because I guess it's not good to create things in your mind that actually make you feel
hate and
hate
anger.
and rage. Even though I feel like that's kind of what we do anyway when you ever get mad about something that does not need to be gotten mad at. And I do all the time, you know, for sure.
It is a motivating.
I mean something that like you get super pissed off about, and it's just not worth getting pissed. It's not a big deal. It's like a really minuscule
Like maybe
thing to
stubbing your
happen.
toe,
Yeah, it could be something like that. Or,
dropping your fork on the ground.
Damn it! But regardless, I feel like whenever we do get consumed by anger in those moments, it almost is kind of like a relishing in the anger. Because I mean, why does it need to be there? I guess in a sense, I don't know. Emotions are so weird to contemplate like that, because anytime you think about the really intense emotions like anger or crying or stuff like that, they're always like a release, you know. They're always like some type of energy has built up and you need to like release it in a certain way, you know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know, I guess it's so weird to think about, because there's so much to it, like on like a brain body chemistry level of what exactly emotions are and things like that. And then when we like think about it, it does feel like if you have like a really good cry, if you've ever had one of those, it just feels like 1,000 pounds is off your shoulders.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And then if you're super raged and you just let it out and you're yelling or whatever, afterwards you're gonna feel better. You know, or at least more calm afterwards.
He would just yell. He didn't do it all the time, but like I spent a significant amount of time with this dude, and he would just literally just like just like any time, and like if he felt like yelling, he would just do it, and I was like, dude, why do you do that? And he's like, sometimes it just feels really good to yell. So I tried it, and it does. It really fucking does. Like it's like a big sense of relief, especially if you're built up like all this like tension in your mind,
and then you just let it go.
It's a weird therapy.
It is a weird therapy, but it's always weird to think about the those kinds of emotions, the really hatred, angry type, because they're exciting emotions, no doubt. But it's like it's weird to think about what they are. Like in essence, I guess, and in all emotions when you think about it that way. Because while like hatred and anger and like that almost feels like you got stuff in its tension in the mind and like it's all built up and stuff, and then like, well, then what is happiness then? Like there can be you could say like, oh well, it's no tension, perhaps. Why is there such thing as like, have you ever been like just so happy and then you just like happy tears come down and it feels overwhelming? You know what I'm saying? So what is that? What needs to be released? Is that just a different?
Are you talking like cognitively or?
I guess metaphorically, like, I mean, and actually, because obviously something is released.
Okay. Well, let's talk metaphorically then.
Metaphorically, like what is what is overflowing when you cry due to happiness? Like, why do you need to cry about it? You know,
the release of happiness.
Yeah.
Would it be like the release of tension, but on the opposite?
I guess so.
Or maybe not even opposite, but just in a positive light in comparison to a negative.
I guess, yeah. It's maybe there's not really an answer.
If you're feeling so much of one emotion, it can maybe be overwhelming. So you need to kind of
balance it out.
Yeah, just let a little out. Let a little out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if it's true or not. I remember seeing it on the internet, but not good, resourceful, beautiful internet that you can relish in knowledge. And I'm talking about like social media. I've seen it bouncing around. But something about happy tears are like have a different chemical makeup than the sad tears. I mean,
really?
Yeah, like they're, I don't know, different consistencies or ratios or different chemical components or something.
That's actually really
But it might be completely bullshit. It might be someone just saw that on an article on like Huffington Post and was just like, all right, fuck it, I'll just...
That's fact.
Yeah,
that's fact now.
Well, let's try to get some likes and upvotes.
Yeah. Let's get attention from this real quick. Dude, that's really interesting. I can totally see that being something that people it kind of like, it's like confirmation bias, like people want it to be true kind of deal. They're like, oh, like this sounds so crazy that if this is true. But regardless, the emotions in themselves are very different experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
It's also weird to me, like, how crying and laughing sounds so fucking similar. Like, have you ever, like, heard somebody cry or you hear somebody laughing really hard?
Laugh and think he's crying more often than vice versa.
Absolutely.
Like, you crying? No.
It's like, all right, you good? All right, cool.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I'm Gucci.
For sure. But, yeah, no, they they do sound really similar. And it's also weird how, why does the body feel to let out liquid whenever those things happen? I don't know, like, the biological reason.
Is that like...
It'd be nice to have a scientist as the third person here. Because then I could be asking all these questions to a guy who actually knows what he's
smart person.
Actually knows what he's talking about. I'm sure there's an answer, or at least the closest answer that we've come to.
It's like
so
a
far
real release.
in all these questions.
It's like an actual release of the internal...
Yeah,
it's
no,
almost cleansing you.
Right, yeah. It's almost like a real... I mean, it is, in a sense, a very real release. But, yeah. That's why I didn't know how to answer your question. Like, are you speaking, like... literally? And I was like, metaphorically, I guess. But there is a release. Like, so things are coming out.
There's a literal release as well.
Yeah, but, yeah.
Maybe our bodies are just more symbolic. They're more artsy than we think.
I think that's probably not inaccurate. Bodies are very artful. I guess you could say that about anything. Never really. But
Yeah, sometimes, like, I remember the first time I ever looked at myself, like, close up in the mirror, and I looked at my tear duct, and I was like, there's a hole in my eyelid, on the bottom of my eyelid.
Tear duct?
Like right, it's like right on the bottom inside, like pretty much right here.
And you, like, looked inside there?
I didn't look inside, but, like, you can see, like, a little hole if you, like, look up really close to it. And I was just, like, so mind-blown. I was like, that's where tears come from. I was like, no way.
Tear portal.
The tear portal.
No way.
The tear portal from hell.
That's pretty funny. It's interesting.
It's a little slit.
A little slit.
Well, should we get the first topic going?
Yeah, sure. What you got?
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about karma. Because
Oh, man.
I think
Loaded
from
concept.
the Western paradigm perspective of what karmic debt and everything is...
Like, My Name is Earl. You ever seen that show?
Yeah, I have.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
That's like the perfect idea of a Western idea of karma. But that's what the whole show is about. He's like, I don't remember the whole gist of it, but he's like, my name is Earl, and it has that guy that's in other stuff. Is that the dude who's in Alvin and the Chipmunks? Or is that a different dude? I can't even...
I'm not sure.
don't know.
Like the main character of My Name is Earl?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, the point of the show is, I guess, I don't know, I could be getting this all wrong, but from what I can try to recall, it was something like, this dude's life is going shitty, and then he's like, oh, I feel like I've done all these bad things to all these people, and I'm suffering for my karma. And then he's just like, so all I have to do, and he has this like list of all these people that he's
Okay, I
trying
do
to
remember. This
make
is coming
amends.
back to me.
Yeah, so he's trying to find all those people who he wronged, and then correct his wrongs to them, so that his karma gets cleansed, and then good things can start happening. And that's one of the things they would always say in the trailers for the show. It's just like, karma, good things happen to good people, yada yada yada.
Okay.
So that would be, I feel like, the Western.
Because that's how I see it. Like, people are like, okay, karma's a bitch. Like, karma's a bitch. And the way I interpret that statement
Right.
is, okay, you did something, you wronged me, therefore, I trust that the universe is going to get you back just as bad or 10 times worse.
Yeah, they'll throw
There's
that
peace
rule
and
of three.
serenity in my mind knowing that you're going to get
You're getting
fucked.
fucked up, bro. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Western idea of karma is very, very different. And that's why karma isn't really something I really like to talk about with a lot of people. I mean, I'll talk to you about it, but like, it's not something I bring up just because it makes sense as a concept or whatever. Because people have a different idea of karma, or some. I mean, I'm sure everyone has a different idea of karma, but I feel like in the West there's this general sense. It's like, it's kind of a very bullshit way to look at it than, I mean, how they. So karma developed in, I guess it has like Hindu roots, I'd say.
Okay.
So karma and kama are two terms that you should be familiar with if you want to know about karma, I guess. But karma is Sanskrit. So that's like Hindu language. Sanskrit, very old form of writing. I don't know how to read it. Sometimes I play with writing it just because it's fun, but like I know some basic symbols, but nothing crazy. But yeah, Sanskrit is karma, and that's kind of more associated with Hinduism. And then there's kama, which is the Pali language, which is
referring to polytheistic?
no, actually, Pali is the name of the language. Pali.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so Pali is the word for karma is kama. So a lot of the words, and Pali is usually associated with Buddhist traditions, which did form more after the roots of Hinduism, you could say. So Hinduism is more ancient than Buddhism, for sure.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Buddhism, in some ways, this isn't completely accurate. I think a lot of people like to think of it this way. And I think for people first understanding the links between Buddhism and Hinduism, they probably it's not a bad way to view it, but almost like how Martin Luther the monk, reformed the church, and it was like this whole
1500s,
revelation,
right?
yeah, something like that. And he's like, you guys are doing indulgences, and
That's what the Buddha did to Hinduism?
sorta, in a way, because he basically was just like, I mean, I think all your practices are kind of bullshit, and like, there's an easier way, and here's my way, kind of in a certain way. And it's similar, you could say, even to what Jesus did to the Jewish religious state, kind of. Because he did the same thing, and he was like, you guys worship the same God or whatever, but you're doing this bullshit.
That's
to
like the major
Pharisees and the
differentiating factor
Sadducees.
between Jews, like Judaism and Christianity, right?
In Christianity,
Believing that there's a Christ versus not believing there's a Christ that's come on earth yet?
Well, yeah, that's come on earth yet. Is the Jews, I think the Messiah is still coming. If I'm
They're
not
still
mistaken.
awaiting him.
Yes, and Christians are just waiting for that second coming.
Okay.
But if I'm not mistaken, I think the Jewish people, do they think Christ will actually be like a king ruler or not? I can't remember. Because that was something the whole Christian idea is all interesting about. Because it's just like, see, our king isn't even like, he's not even exalted. He's put on a tree and killed.
Right.
But yeah, so it's interesting. I think they might see him as a ruler, or maybe not.
There's some humility in that archetype.
Oh, absolutely. No,
That's
it's
interesting.
very
I've never
beautiful.
thought about it that way.
No, it's very beautiful. Christianity is a very compassionate religion. It really is. But yeah. Anyway, back to karma. So
Yeah, we kind of got off the rails there.
they bring up karma, and then we start talking about all the religions. Yeah, it's an issue. But karma is interesting because essentially karma means action, like the word means action. And then here's kind of how I like to think about it, though everyone can think about it in a different way. But instead of so much as do good things happen to you. Even though you talk to some Hindus, they might agree with you. And I guess I'll get to that why in a second. But essentially it's action. So cause and effect, pretty much. It's cause and effect.
Okay.
You realize that for anything that's a cause, it's an effect too. It's a chain, right?
Every action has a reaction.
Every action has a reaction, and every action is a reaction itself. So it's interesting. Why I like the word karma is because I'll be in online. I'm in all sorts of forums, philosophy forums, and spiritual forums, occultism, whatever, esotericism, and a lot of people use the idea of karma, and a lot of people are like, nah, see, I don't really like why not just work with the scientific concepts of cause and effect? That seems more modern. It seems like it would work.
And communicate that as well, saying
that.
Cause and effect instead of the word karma.
Instead of the word karma, and
because it could be misinterpreted.
Right.
Too ambiguous.
Yeah, perhaps. And because karma is usually seen with I don't know, kind of like mystical, magical stuff, I guess. And I agree with that. I think it'd be cool to get a new set of terminology, even beyond cause and effect. Why I still like using karma is because it's a very because it's a useful concept, essentially. Because what it does is it combines both cause and effect. Because the idea of karma is basically it's just action. It's better. It's like if every single cause, is that not just is the cause itself not an effect from a previous cause? Right?
Absolutely.
That's what I meant when I said it's a chain.
Like even your birth, the starting point for any of us is going to be a reaction.
Is actually just a reaction from a different cause, which is a reaction from a different cause. So karma is cool because it breaks down that duality. For one, that's one reason I like it. And another one is because a lot of times karma should be more viewed as a symbolic, metaphorical term rather than something applied to the physical world, even though you can think of karma in the sense of the physical world, at least in the way that Hindus use it, I'd say. But so why even talk about karma for these people?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much
these people referring to the Western.
The Hindus and stuff. The West, I don't really see a need for the West to really use terms like karma unless they want to go down some psychological route, that uses that kind of symbolism, or if they, I don't see why it would be that useful of a concept unless, you do things I don't know. I guess it could be useful in this way, and this more draws upon the Buddhist idea, and that's that karma is more of like a mental dealio. So the idea is that every act of mind that you have
Okay.
will basically ripple like waves in the mind.
Referring to any thoughts.
Yes. So
Any actions.
Any thoughts and actions. So let's say something really pisses you off.
Wait, just for like full clarification, like intangible and tangible all have ripple effects.
I mean, I guess it depends which Buddhist you ask. In my opinion, I guess, yeah, it would all have effects around you, too, for sure.
Because that thought could lead to another thought.
That leads to behavior that affects somebody. So, yes,
It's almost irrefutable. Almost.
I agree. I do view karma in that sense. I view it as a whole. It's all action, pretty much. I view it that way. Now, some Buddhists would disagree and be like, oh, it's the mind. Other Buddhists wouldn't disagree, and they would also agree. It really depends on who you ask. There's so many goddamn lineages and traditions for all these philosophical traditions and whatnot. But, so basically, yeah. So every action that you have has kind of a ripple effect in it. You know, it keeps going. And so the idea is let's say something annoying happens, and you give in to anger, like big time. Pretty much, when you give in to anger, it's almost like you're planting seeds. This is another helpful way to think of karma. It's almost like the Bible verse of you reap what you sow. Is that even a Bible verse, or is that just a saying?
I've heard it, but I want to say it's in the Bible. I want to say it's in the Bible.
If not, then definitely a parable involved
Absolutely.
sowing seeds. I mean, it's an old time.
I've heard that
Sowing
recently,
seeds
like multiple times too.
you reap what you sow is the best.
I want to say I heard it from Eckhart Tolle referencing the Bible originally, but I could be wrong.
Galatians 6:7, yeah.
Okay.
It's biblical. Okay, so yeah, that is a perfect way to think about karma, especially in
What you reap.
you reap what you sow. Now I'll tell you why that's different than good things happen to good things people, because you have to think of it different in terms of identity. But yeah, especially in terms of the Hindu, because a lot of Hindu texts will even talk about like, yes, and you plant every time you do this action, you're planting the seeds for further action to grow. You know, you're generating karma essentially. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so basically, yeah, you give in to anger easily or whatever, then you have a higher tendency to give in to anger next time. And then it's almost like a snowball effect. It's almost like you're just planting, whatever actions and thoughts you have are the habits that are going to grow from them. You know, that's karma. Okay? So you reap what you sow. Whatever you want to make the garden of your mind, if you want to make it a beautiful, loving, compassion place, then your behavior will follow suit. You know, it's the same way. If you want to get all mad about everything, and that's what you want your mind to have the tendency to gravitate towards, is anger and hatred and those types of emotions, and then that's what your garden will look like, and that's what the behaviors will affect you. And then in a greater sense, it could affect people around you, animals around you, plants you're trying to keep alive, your diet, so yourself, your very own animal body, you know. So that's why I like thinking about karma. I think it's a useful concept. It narrows down all of these concepts that I've just spoke to into one word, which is something I like. And that's hard to say, and that's why I was saying, does it have much value in the West? And I was like, it depends what kind of person you are, I guess. If you're an actualizing person in this sense, then it could be a useful concept. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I mean, I find it useful, but I spend a lot of time studying all the religions and philosophies.
Absolutely.
Other people might be business people. What are they going to do with karma? Maybe it could help them too, though.
It's applicable maybe to business.
I think it's applicable everywhere. I just I can't see many people being too open to using such a concept just because it comes from a religion, honestly.
You think people would be closed-minded and closed off to the idea and the ideology just because
it's a religious idea?
It's a religious idea.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't go talk to my biology professor about karma. He's not gonna buy that. I can't even talk about to my Christian
parents,
which is crazy because about karma, because it's a different religion.
Yeah, it's more applicable to science than anything, in my opinion.
No, I think the science of mind, you could say. Why does science all of a sudden have to be only having to, and it doesn't. I think a lot of people's just common conception when they think of the word science is like the outer material study of material things and what they're made out of and stuff like that. But I don't see why. And yeah, the science of mind are usually fall under categories of psychology, psychiatry, and religion and spirituality and philosophy. So those are the
So does karma only refer to the internal, like referring to your mind, or is it referring to the external as well?
That depends on who you ask. If you were to ask me, I would say no. Karma is everything. If you were to ask a Theravadan Buddhist, which is one of the first lineages, so-called, supposedly.
Wait, what kind of Buddhist?
Theravada Buddhist.
Okay, I've never heard that word before.
They might say it's only in the mind, because they had a much less universal philosophy. It was more about like, just get yourself enlightened. Let's not focus on anything else. Focus on what's in the mind and liberating the mind. And then the later forms of Buddhism kind of made it more universal. Be like, they got more, I don't know, they got more, I'll say Hindu with it, because they'll embrace more concepts such as like oneness and be like, everything is the mind, man. So yeah, I don't know, it's interesting to say, but yeah, so that answers your question of karma. That's probably really random for your podcast too. I don't know, was there was hardly a lead, and it was sort of just like, here's a
what do you think karma question?
What do you think of karma? Or at least or maybe I just gave a really long.
Yeah, because we were talking about eating whole entire pizzas in one sitting.
Yeah, and then we got into this weird conversation. But
I'm really interested in the topic, though. It's extremely fascinating, man.
Yeah, it's
going off of that, I feel like with like if I was going to talk to like a science professor or something, the way I would present the argument is talk about the external and talk about like karma in that regard, and then present it as like, oh, well, that works internally as well, and then make the same argument that we were making before. What does karmic debt mean exactly?
Okay, so karmic debt is interesting. Essentially, the entire idea behind Eastern philosophy in general, at least if we're talking about in the bounds of the spiritual traditions, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, but the whole central idea seems to be is dissolving your karma or burning off your karma, unraveling your karma, destroying your karma.
Referring to the negative karma, or just negative and positive, to create...
Depends.
To distance yourself from a former self to create the present moment that you can take on to the new world with?
You're onto something there. Okay. So there's different goals, again, depending on which route you want to go. If we're talking Buddhism, yeah, the general idea is to pretty much dissolve all karma in the mind. So then to the mind, phenomena appears almost like there's no attachment to it. It's weird. It's hard to explain.
Is this kind of what
it's
because I've read some books similar to this concept with whenever your mind is identified with the past. So would it be the same thing as kind of letting go of the past, of past karma, past experiences, so that you can move forward?
I think that'd be a big part of it, yes. But essentially the idea is, you have to understand, this isn't my path because I don't know, I'm just a dude. But like, for instance, it's said that the whole idea of, like, for instance, like the strictest areas of Buddhism is to completely dissolve all the action in the mind. So making no ripples, pretty much.
Referring to no thought.
Referring to no thought, referring to no...
And this can be achieved through meditation?
Meditation, yes. And this isn't what my plan is. Because, I don't know, it's just... It's a life thing, I'm not going to stop these thoughts. I've already accepted that.
I enjoy thinking.
I enjoy thinking too. But for some people, Buddhists that embark on this kind of thing, yeah, the whole idea is to eventually stop the rolling of the mind. And so what's said to be there is that karma is no longer generated. Basically, the rolling snowball that was gathering that snow, and it's like almost like you stopped feeding it snow in a certain way. You stopped clinging on to thoughts that arose and then reacting to them a certain way at all. And you just see the thoughts. You basically see everything as illusion. That's the whole idea. And then so what happens then is
anything external as an illusion.
And the external, internal, doesn't matter.
Oh,
the
wow.
difference between external and internal, illusion. Anything of form whatsoever is supposed to be seen as illusion. And so when there's no reaction to anything that's happening whatsoever, that's when they're said to have no karma in the mind. You've burned off all the karma. And so what happens then if there's no karma? Well, that's enlightenment. The term nirvana, you ever hear of like attaining nirvana,
Absolutely.
attaining enlightenment? That's a Buddhist term. They call it nibbana in Pali. Sanskrit is nirvana. Pali is nibbana. So
Okay.
you remember how I said that language difference? But so when you achieve nibbana, the term nibbana even means, like, it translates to like being extinguished. You're extinguishing, meaning
Transcending?
you could say it that way. In their view, it's even more so of completely extinguishing all karma. It's like if the karma was a burning candle and then you just finally put it out. There's no more form that is clung on to. Therefore, a person is completely liberated in the mind. There's no more suffering, yada yada. This is the nibbana that Siddhartha Gautama, which is known as the Buddha. Apparently there's a lot of Buddhas, but that's kind of known as the Buddha in the West. But Siddhartha Gautama was that's his way. That's his method, essentially. He's like, do all this shit, stop attachment, stop clinging to the mind, and everything will be completely limitless because you will not identify with any thought at all. And even the thought of self, obviously you're going to see through that.
Uh-huh.
Yada, yada, yada. So then you're just like this, almost like a perfect mirror of nature, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the idea. So you would flow in perfect harmony with the universe because there's no concept that you build called you. Because you're not separating yourself from nature and the natural world. That has attributes, that clings on to certain thoughts and ideas and feels emotions based on them and has a reaction and behaves based on that reaction. And this is complete transcendence of human nature. That's the goal of Gautama. Yeah, no, it is an insane goal.
Conquering self.
It's conquering everything. That's why I said, I'm not going on this journey.
but what if you're referring to trying to satiate fundamental human needs, referring to taking a piss, going to get something to eat, like those thoughts are going to arise. Oh, I'm hungry.
Those thoughts are going to arise, but there will be no identification with them. Meaning they're just going to happen. Behavior will happen. After Gautama was apparently enlightened or whatever, he walked around and he taught people. He did things. He ate food. He drank water. He went to the bathroom. He shat. Talked to people. It's not like he was just, shit, he's a fucking statue now, man. He literally turned into a tree.
You hear about that guy? He's a tree now.
It's not like that. I would think of it more like this. Remember how we were talking about flow states the other day?
Uh-huh.
The most highest flow state you can possibly imagine, that it doesn't even seem, it's not even, you don't even think of it as a flow state just because it's beyond all conception and you're just in that forever. That's how I view it. Because the whole idea is everyone says about nibbana, or what Hindus call moksha, it's the same thing, except while Buddhists see it as complete dissolution, complete extinguishing of self, the Hindus see it as transcending reality to merge with ultimate nature of reality, the Brahman that we were talking about. That's what moksha is. It's dissolving into the Brahman.
So you're not gonna, in theory, you're not gonna have desires. No more suffering from the desires.
Thoughts of desire may run up because you're a biological machine. But there will be no sort of suffering. There's no attachment to that desire, even if your behavior carries it out. Let's say you don't get that desire. There's not going to be any suffering because you were never attached to it in the first place.
Wow.
You see it all as illusion. Even the pain, the suffering, all of it.
That's so hard to imagine in the West. It's so hard to
imagine in the West. Because for one, it almost seems like it's fraught with dispassion. And I feel like a lot of people in the West look at that and they're like, wow, turn away from everything human just to become what? Non-human? Like, it sounds scary. I admit, It sounds scary. It's intense. It's a completely new idea. And people that don't understand it, like the term enlightenment or nirvana or moksha and stuff, they have this different idea of them, just like, yeah, they just feel one with everything. But like, it's like, no, dude, the mind is literally like beyond everything, 100%. Like it's you know, it's weird to think about it. It almost gives me shivers when I try to think about it too much, just because it's like, I can't believe, you know. And it's weird because a lot of people are like, all right, well, where's evidence that you can attain this state? And be like, I don't know anybody who's attained to this state. But I'll tell you one thing: there's a fuck ton of literature everywhere that's been, every single century, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pages have been dedicated to this type of work, and all sorts of different.
This one state of consciousness.
Yeah, and you could say that not only in these countries and these areas, but even all other sorts of areas. All sorts of religions seek this type of experience. Not, a lot of times, not the, I hate to use the word mainstream, but not the exoteric kind of like, I don't know, I've never heard anything like this in the Christian church that I grew up in, for instance. Nothing like this. It's not like that. It's not about practice and realizing something or stripping away delusions of reality or anything. It's more just about like a faith type thing, you know. So that was the religion that I always knew growing up. And then so when I encountered all this stuff, it was like a whole different thing. So you're right when you say that in the West, that's like a completely different notion. Like, it's so hard to even get it across to people because it sounds so bizarre and like
it really does.
Explain it doesn't even, like, I feel like a lot of people just wouldn't even understand what I'm talking about.
It doesn't align with our conditioning whatsoever. Because we're like satisfaction, happiness is derived from achievement, from attaining whatever we set a desire, and then we set that goal and we achieve it, and then the feeling on the other side and through the process of achieving it, like it's so ingrained in our culture.
Totally. And it feels good. It feels good to me to achieve, and it feels good to you to achieve.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, is our path. If we can have some wisdom about how to not get upset on this path of, you know, the culture that we find ourselves in. You know, we're going to be doing things like getting jobs and, you know, trying to obtain things just so we can live. You know, I can't do what Mr. Gautama does, obviously. But it's weird. But it's not like I can't use any of those types of understandings, you know.
To your benefit.
To my benefit, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why I even look into any of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Also,
Absolutely.
because I'm a nerd and it's super interesting.
It is really, it's really fascinating.
For sure. No, it's absolutely fascinating. But way back to your question of karmic debt. So that's the whole idea. So I explained karma in a very brief, general sense, kind of, and then the idea of the whole point that they even make a concept of karma is so they can have a concept to dissolve it, which is either moksha to dissolve karma, or to burn off karma, or nibbana to dissolve karma. But yeah, and it's funny, they actually say something else about this is an interesting term, and this kind of gets more into metaphysics, less some sort of psychology that has to do with interesting
I'm not
concepts.
very familiar with metaphysics.
Metaphysics is like completely, it's like anti-science. Science and metaphysics like can't get along because it's almost like complete speculation based off of experience. You know, metaphysics is basically like what is beyond.
Does that
what's in the other dimensions?
Is alchemy involved in that at all, or
alchemy is interesting because I'm really fascinated by alchemy. I read a lot of stuff on it. Alchemy's cool because what do you think alchemy is?
I've read The Alchemist.
Oh, okay.
And
you've read The Alchemist.
That's about all I know.
I haven't even read The Alchemist.
I'll throw down like what I think. Okay, so being able to. I love how like wrong,
get it,
rudimentary.
honestly.
No, I don't think I'm right. I'm imagining almost like a witch, like a pot.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
And almost boiling water and just throwing grass and other things, and then turning that into gold, or turning that into something desirable, something more desired than what was previously thrown into there.
Okay, interesting. That's not a bad way to look at it. That's a physical that's the physical. It's an interesting start. So alchemy, it's interesting because if I were to exactly say what alchemy was in my own words, right on the spot right now, I guess I would say it's something of a it's a methodology using symbol systems to basically pretty much a methodology using symbol systems to basically approach the state of mind where dualism collapses, which is similar to mysticism in general, which is what Hindus and Buddhists would be seen as mystics, and there's also Christian mystics and Islamic mystics and yada yada. But alchemy is pretty much I can see why you think it's like the witch thing for sure. So basically, alchemy, it started out, some texts say that its roots are actually like Egyptian, Library of Alexandria type shit. A lot of people, it's connected with these traditions called Hermeticism, which connects itself to like this Egyptian god Thoth way in it's weird shit. I'm telling you right now. Yeah, but alchemy,
I didn't realize it had that deep roots.
Well, they're debatable roots, but kind of. At least texts that come from those ancient of times are used by even modern alchemists. In some ways, I'll be quite honest with you, I would consider myself kind of like a alchemist in a certain way.
Oh, very cool.
Just as much as I would be a mystic, but I'm not as serious as to be like a wandering yogi, obviously, or to just be a hermit shut up in my room and reading. Oh yeah, I am sometimes. But essentially, you probably picture something like I still have the same background. Is this what you picture, like an alchemist's room? Little spell books, little bubbling shiznits.
Almost like a sorcerer. A sorcerer is almost synonymous with what I'm kind of imagining.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll get how that ties into magic, if you want to know about that. Which is also a Western mystic tradition, you could say, magic traditions.
Okay.
Which actually ties into like paganism and stuff like that. But essentially, alchemy. It's so weird to talk about from someone. So the reason it's associated with physical experiments and doing stuff like that, there's this thing called like.
But the end result is for your mind, or to reach a state.
Yes, it's for the mind, and here's where it gets tricky.
And you said it was to transcend duality, referring to this being good, this being bad.
Exactly.
To be able to throw labels on external.
To obtain the mystical state, to obtain the samadhi, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So essentially, it's just another different way to get to where those other dudes that we were just talking about a little bit.
Absolutely. If you don't want to take the meditation route, here you go.
Yeah. There's actually a funny thing I heard the other day about that too, and why the Western route of mysticism seems very different from the Eastern route of mysticism.
But still obtainable?
Still obtainable, yeah.
Hey.
It should, theoretically speaking, put into practice, it should work, at least from everything I understand right now. But anyway, so alchemy. The reason it's associated with the outward work is because in Europe, pretty much, there's a lot of famous alchemists. And alchemy was kind of seen as, a lot of people say the basis of chemistry actually started out as alchemy, which may or may not be true. I have no idea. I haven't really looked into that specific thing as much because I don't really care. But I could see how that would work, because there actually was some good experiments that actually gave some scientific things by some alchemists. But the idea is that a lot of people, when they think of alchemy, they think that the idea is to turn base metals into gold, because that's what all these alchemists wrote down in their books. They're like, we're looking for this thing called the Philosopher's Stone, just lapis philosophorum. I think that's Latin. I hope so. I've had it in my mind that that's Latin the whole time. But
I think I have heard of the Philosopher's Stone. Or maybe I'm thinking of the Sorcerer's Stone.
You've probably heard of the Philosopher's Stone too, I think. Though.
Okay.
But the Philosopher's Stone is basically seen as the substance or whatever that can turn any base metal to gold. And so they're looking for this because it's the most prized possession. But they're actually not. They're not looking for that. Some of them might have been, but in all truth, alchemy is a spiritual art or psychological art or whatever you want to call it.
Really?
It's a mental art. It's all about mental transformation. Why did they write about all the physical works in the book? It's all symbolic writing because the clergy at the time obviously had control of Europe and would pretty much...
So it's almost encrypted to those who understand it.
It's encrypted for those who want to seek and understand, yes, and to hide from the clergy because the clergy saw it as a different religion and therefore would be persecuted. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so they would have to hide, or else they would be arrested.
So they
or
created
whatever,
their own type of code almost.
code. Yes. So all of these metals and stuff you're hearing about refer to different aspects of mind or nature or both, and what to do. And so the whole idea, and alchemy is really cool. I started studying it because I was super into chemistry. And, I was kind of into chemistry, talking
Absolutely.
about structures and different molecules and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, so it's kind of cool because taking classic chemistry and doing a light study of chemistry, I don't know shit still. But it was cool. It was cool. Yeah, it was cool to see all of a sudden. It almost seemed like the whole universe was like this big chemical laboratory that's just buzzing with vibrance and crazy shit happening all the time and people coming alive. And when I started studying alchemy, it only made it more seem like that, and it made my body seem like my experimentation table, of how to do the experiments I need to do to basically learn something about myself. There's 3 materials you should know about that's talked about frequently in alchemy, and that's sulfur, and then mercury, or quicksilver, that's another name for it, and salt. And the idea is that sulfur is supposed to be more like the substance. These are really vague concepts. They're hard to understand. And I always try to link them with Hindu concepts just because I studied Eastern philosophy first. But, yeah, it's almost like the substance, you could say, is sulfur. And then mercury, when they talk about mercury, that's...
Substance of what?
The reality.
So, like, what my mind's taking in right now, and
Or outwardly. It can be alchemy. You can definitely see this both ways, I feel. Outwardly too.
So the substance of what's going on in my mind, and outwardly, like what I'm perceiving
nature,
and discerning.
Substance of mind,
Okay.
Stuff like that. I guess you could view it, and it's seen as the fixed part of nature.
Okay.
No, really, there's no fixed part, but it's seen as like the fixed part of nature, and then Mercury is seen as like kind of the wheels of motion that go through the fixed, I guess. They translate really well to 2 Hindu concepts. One's called prana, which is like the energy, which is like the motion and energy. That's kind of seen as prana, so that would be Mercury. And then there's akasha, which is seen as like the substance, and it's like fixed, but prana makes it move, so it makes it dance in all these crazy ways. So it's almost seen in like, so in chemical terms, in like an experimental terminology, it would be like, yeah, you dissolve the sulfur into the mercury, like you dissolve the fixed part into the motion part. It's weird terminology, and it's weird to understand and like grasp it. Like, it sounds so weird to talk about. Like, it's weird how it survived so long, because it is a really popular, in people who are interested in mysticism or esotericism or these types of philosophies, or occultism even, or paganism or pantheism. Like, alchemy is like a huge, subject of inquiry, for sure.
What do you mean by that, subject of inquiry?
Meaning it's a subject that people really are interested and fascinated by, and really dive in, and they see value in it. They see value in studying it and putting it into practice. But the whole idea is to find an experiment that essentially works. You want to find the Philosopher's Stone.
So it's kind of like a almost a scientific approach to
the mind.
achieving. Oh, really?
To achieving nirvana or whatever. Yes, exactly.
This is so interesting to me because I feel like a lot of people, especially with their Western understanding of it, it's so esoteric that their mind just immediately falsifies it. It's like, okay, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
For sure. That's why it's called esotericism. And that's why they had to hide it from the church, because the church felt that it was like some religion, a different religion. You know?
Okay.
So they had to stamp it down because it was non-Christian. But, yeah, it's weird to talk about. But what the Philosopher's Stone is, and the Philosopher's Stone is pretty much just... It's a lovely symbol, too. I'll draw it for you sometime. It's like a circle and a square in a triangle in a bigger circle.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. But how I said that the Philosopher's Stone turns base metals into gold. Base metals refer to basically all the aspects of your mind that are fraught with delusion, illusion, doesn't see things clearly. Don't see the nature of reality as it is. You know, all the parts that weigh you down, the part that aren't the pure. You can't see the truth of the nature of reality with these parts of your mind.
The impurities that you're trying to cleanse.
Yeah. The karma that these fools over here are trying to burn off.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
These fools over here.
I just picture this map, and I'm going to talk about people in the east, these fools over here, bitches over here. But yeah, essentially the base metals. So the idea of finding the Philosopher's Stone is basically finding the state of mind that you realize that everything's already perfect. Everything transforms into gold, essentially then. And then when you see reality, you see it in its purest form, which is what dudes like Gautama would argue, the Buddha would argue. Yeah, I'm seeing reality as it is. Okay. And you guys just think you guys exist and are running around like idiots. Or whatever. And then so that would be the idea of finding the Philosopher's Stone, is so you can transform all phenomena in the mind and outside, you know, they're connected or whatever, to gold. So then everything is just like you're living in a spiritual world. But yeah, that's the idea behind alchemy, and it's kind of tied in with these traditions called Hermeticism, which goes back. That's why I started talking about Egypt and Library of Alexandria type shit, because Hermeticism is supposed to go down. They claim to get all their one of their favorite texts is by this dude named Hermes Trismegistus. Now Hermes, if you're familiar, is actually a Greek god, but whether there's a lot of debate whether Hermes Trismegistus was just a guy, was like a philosopher, and he wrote all these texts that are still around today, and these types of people, hermetics and alchemists, are still looking over, you know? Or whether he wasn't even a guy, he was just a product of symbolism, and actually a lot of people wrote these documents, but all attributed it to one mind that was like, maybe they felt like they were channeling information. You know, it could have been anything. A lot of people
referring to like a collective consciousness, or
it could be, yeah, or you know, just a product of symbolism, like is what a being could be. You know, but yeah, so that's kind of weird to think about. But oh yeah, so the thing God damn it, who was I listening to? I'm always listening to so many lectures about all this shit. Damn it. Well, anyway, I was listening to somebody in one of my lectures that I like listening to on YouTube and whatnot.
You should send me some of those, by the way.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you some.
I've been on a big Jordan Peterson binge lately.
Oh, Jordan Peterson!
I'm a huge JP fan.
Yeah, JP.
JP.
So this dude was talking about why the Eastern mysticism looks so much different from Western mysticism. And if you don't know what the term mysticism is...
I was just about to ask you that.
Because a lot of people think mysticism is like... Yeah, it just means hocus pocus shit. I
was imagining like a gypsy. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, a lot of them look like that.
Okay.
But all a mystic is somebody that Here, I'll give you a straight up, simple...
Webster Dictionary definition.
Google definition of mystic. And that'll be interesting. I bet a lot of people don't look up mystic on Google definition.
Yeah, true. So mystic's referring to the individual.
Mystic is referring to the individual. Mysticism is like what he practices, I
guess.
But it's not a specific tradition. It's just like a general thing. You know, Hindus are mystics, Buddhists are mystics, alchemists are mystics, hermetics are mystics. Some people that practice magic, in quote unquote, are mystics. A person who seeks by contemplation and self-surrender to obtain unity with or absorption into the capital D deity or the absolute, or who believes in the spiritual apprehension of truths that are beyond intellect. So that last part it tags onto could pretty much refer to
Could you read that
anybody ever who thinks about spiritual stuff. But pretty much the main definition I'll say here: a person who seeks by contemplation and self-surrender to obtain unity with or absorption into the deity. Deity meaning if they believe in a god, if they believe in some transcendent god, they absorb into it. Or the absolute, which would be more in the sense of like when we were talking about the Brahman. Even though some people would view Brahman as deity, so that's what it means when it says deity. So Christian mystics are seeking to dissolve into Yahweh or have some sort of communion with Yahweh, actually.
Is the method always through surrender?
Usually, because mysticism usually implies absorption in some way. Therefore, if there's no surrender, then there's separation.
Surrender to what?
The absolute, I guess. I like the term self-surrender because it's almost like you have to give up yourself in order to
Okay.
That's the best way to
It's almost a sacrificial narrative.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Wow.
Definitely. In my opinion, that's actually, I think, why a lot of religions and stems from the idea of sacrifice. I think that's almost why there's an unconscious idea of sacrifice. Because when you give up some part of yourself, it almost feels like a weight off your shoulders. It almost feels like you get rewarded in a certain sense.
That's a good point.
So I almost feel like that's where the idea of sacrifice even came from.
A lot of people are typically going through like exhausting measures of being able to protect different variables of themselves and aspects of their personality that are going to leave them vulnerable.
Absolutely.
So there's true strength in that. That makes a lot of sense.
So there's a mystic, and here let me look at mysticism. I bet it'll say like same thing, just without the person. Belief that union with or absorption into the deity or the absolute or the spiritual apprehension of knowledge inaccessible to the intellect may be obtained through the contemplation and self-surrender. Yeah. Or you could use, here's what a lot of people in the West would be like, yeah, he's some weird, kooky, mystic thinker. Here's what they would say. Belief characterized by self-delusion or dreamy confusion of thought, especially when based on the assumption of occult qualities or mysterious agencies. So this would be like the pastor definition, I feel like, of a mystic.
The pastor referring to the Christian?
Christian or any exoteric preacher, I'd say.
So they're calling him a cult, basically.
Yeah, calling him a cult and not
fucking
real.
hippies.
Or any like very scientific materialist would probably say the same thing about mystics. They'd probably be that.
Trying to rule them out and not
trying to be like, well, they're not scientific. You know, they don't focus on this stuff. They go inside their minds. I don't want to deal with them.
Which is funny because that's separation from them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but,
the irony.
But yeah. So anyway, this lecture I was listening to, the guy said that maybe one of the reasons why, maybe some of the factors of why Eastern mysticism looks so different from the West is you have to think about, like, in the East, you know, their method of mysticism is so based around the idea of meditation and just like going inside your mind and withdrawing from all the senses and just turning them all inward inside and just it's just like a big magnifying glass beam that you turn in on yourself.
Okay, absolutely.
In order to illuminate what's inside. So then in the West, though, all the mystic traditions are so much more slathered with stuff like symbolism. There will be some sort of ladder you have to climb. In a lot of Western mystic traditions, they use ritual magic, which is actually a thing. It's a commonly studied thing called ritual or ceremonial magic.
Really?
Yeah, it's a common practice.
I've heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about it. Like magic is a technology we just haven't been able to use.
Oh,
I want to say that's Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, no, it might be.
I've heard somebody say that before. Somebody who's like credible and smart. I was like, wow, it like stuck out to me. So,
but yeah, so magic does involve rituals, which does involve all sorts of material symbolism. Meaning, you'll have a temple. There will be the whole shebang. Like, I'll give you the whole occult shebang. Like, you might have a circle around you with the names of God written on it. There will be candles lit, incense burning.
interesting.
You might be, whatever culture you come from, you might be doing some type of drug. You might be smoking, doing something. There might be drumming, which would be like the Native American ceremony.
That's what I was kind of thinking, like the peyote ceremonies, right?
That's ceremonial magic right there. What ceremonial magic is any method that can pretty much get you into trance. And from trance, you can do a lot of things with the unconscious.
What is trance referring to?
A trance state is kind of
It's not the girl, the way you moving got me in a trance. Goddamn.
He's talking about that trance, though.
Really?
Yeah. When you're in a trance, you're in the state that is definitely more of the unconscious. Certainly gets unlocked. A lot of things can happen in trance. Trance almost, to me, it almost seems like a spot your mind can get to, and then it can go a lot of different directions. You can go like, from trance, I could go into meditation. I could go into some visualization practice.
He's referring to lust, then?
Lust?
He's referring to lust.
Kind of like, oh, she's got me in trance.
Right.
Because when you're in a trance, you're a bit daisy and spinny, maybe euphoric and giggly. You know, you're goofy. You're like high, even if you didn't take any drugs.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what trance is. And even
But
without...
could you get there through laughter? Because there was a point in high school, but the brief story. There were 4 friends of mine sitting around a table, and this was like one of the weirdest experiences of my life. Or that might be a bit of an exaggeration or an overstatement, but still, fucking weird. And the 4 of us are sitting around just talking, and we just start joking. And at some point, all 4 of us, like in unison, like we just split out into uncontrollable laughter to where we could not fucking stop. We could not stop.
Good. I love
it was
that.
like for 5 minutes straight, we were dying laughing. Like, I've never laughed so hard in my entire life. Would that be like a trance kind of, or?
Maybe, yeah. You might have been in some sort of trance state. Maybe not. It's hard to say, and there's not really a strict. Now you're in a trance, and now you're not. You know, now he's out of it. You know, it's weird. It's not terribly defined. Let's see what our old handy definition has to say about trance. But pretty much trance can do a lot with it. But
is there any correlation to flow states with trance?
I'd say so.
Okay.
I'd say so. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole reason, like trance music, like Goa trance at like festivals and stuff. People take the flow toys, so they can get. That's what they're called. The light up balls they spin around and light up torches and stuff, called flow toys, and so they can get in a flow state and dance to trance music, which is there for the whole point of putting you in a trance. So it's like this big ceremony. That's essentially what the whole Goa trance rave movement. That's what it's about. It's a form of ceremonial magic.
Getting you to that state of mind.
Yeah, because really, it's pretty much done the same way, and there's no set guidelines to what is ceremonial magic and what's not, what's off limits. There's nothing off limits. Native Americans' ceremonial magic could involve sacrifice and peyote and drumming, whereas some youngsters in the UK are at a Goa trance festival, taking psychedelics and dancing and for sure, and just raving and getting to a trance that way, and then from there all their boundaries might dissolve and they see everything as one and they have their mystic experience or whatever.
Okay.
There's no boundaries to ceremonial magic. The only thing that it's involved is pretty much, can it get you in a trance, and can you use that trance to your benefit? Because you can use trance for a lot of things. A lot of people have written books on trance states to reprogram undesirable aspects of the mind while you're in trance. It's almost like you're hanging around in closer connection to your unconscious mind. So then it's almost like you can tweak it, so then it gives rise to more conscious behavior that's more in line with what you're trying to do in life.
Okay.
So that's the idea behind the definition of trance. A half-conscious state characterized by an absence of response to external stimuli, typically as induced by hypnosis. It's related to hypnosis.
Wow.
Or entered by a medium. So yeah, they even bring in a spiritual term.
Dude, the
there.
mind is so interesting.
The mind is insane.
Oh my god.
Spiritual mediums that claim they're like channeling shit, they're trancing themselves. Whether they're channeling something or not, or whether they're channeling their subconscious, I don't know. I'm not one to say. But they're for sure getting in a trance state. You know, certain areas of the meditative state are trance states, no doubt.
And that's the optimal goal of what you're trying to attain, is to, in some forms of meditation.
In some forms of meditation, what's the optimal goal?
Reaching trance.
I wouldn't say the optimal goal. It's tricky to say. In ceremonial magic practice and a lot of Western magic practices, yeah. But even in man, it'd be cool to. You should watch some documentaries on trance states because people get into them all sorts of ways. I watched something the other day that was about some interesting Vajrayana Buddhist sect, and how they got into trance. Their ceremonial magic was pretty much self-inflicted torture, you know. And so they had these like spiky tools and stuff, and they got music and drummers on the side, and then we got these dudes in the middle that just look fucking possessed. I mean, they look possessed. They're tranced the fuck out. They don't even know what the fuck they're doing. They're bashing their back, and their backs are bloody, and like weird shit, dude. I'm telling you, like trance can be entered through nothing at all, just calm, serenity, meditation. It can be entered spontaneously walking down the street.
Wow.
You might get thrown into a trance. It can be entered through physical pain and physical and mental struggle to the point where it's just, I don't know what happens, but I've never entered it that way, personally. I've only entered it in other ways, but yeah, that.
Well, when I was telling you about the half marathon yesterday, there were points in there where I like, it's kind of an interesting experience because you're able to kind of detach yourself from your body at points. It's almost like you're not even controlling it.
Yeah, the runner's
I would say it was a runner's high, but it's also like a coping mechanism of getting yourself through the run.
Yeah,
it's like okay, like I'm gonna zone out real quick. I'm gonna zone out, and I'm just gonna go, and I'm not gonna feel any of this, and I'm just gonna do it.
Huh? Yeah,
if that makes sense.
No, I know what you're talking. The disconnect. I know what you're talking about. Like, it's like you're floating a. It's like your senses withdraw, so they don't bother you anymore.
Yeah,
and you can just keep going if you want to. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if that could be related to trance. It probably could. I haven't felt it in a long time. But yeah, so all these methods and stuff are to get you into trance, and so we brought up the term magic or whatever. There's this common. It's huge in Western mystic traditions. Huge. Esotericism is ceremonial magic, and all different forms. Anybody can do it their own way, but it even uses symbols like physical symbols such as candles, anointment oil, wand, sword, dagger, what are those weird chain things. They use those too. They use
with like the spike balls in the end.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like a flogger type thing or whatever.
Okay.
And then there's chains is another symbol.
Well, they're not using this on you, are they? They're just using them. Okay.
Well, some of them, if they're trying to enter trance through, maybe they do inflict self-torture. That's what I'm saying. Everyone does it completely different. Ceremonial magic has no limits whatsoever. It just depends on which tradition. There might just be individual people doing it their own way, not doing it with anybody. There might be traditions or cults that do it. I mean, there are, obviously. All the Native American groups, they do it their own way, you know. I think the start of all religions is ceremonial magic. I think the start of Judaism was definitely ceremonial magic because it usually involved taking a goat and sacrificing it and doing a lot of chanting and constant repetitive prayers to God. You know, mantra could be a way to get in a trance. Like, it's weird. It's all connected in this weird way.
I really like the concept of all these different methods to attain the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting.
Person X over here found this more effective to get to that state versus person Y over here found this more effective. That's cool to me. I like that a lot.
And then all the different interpretations of it all is really crazy, and then all the different, I don't know, questions you always have to inquire about. It's just like, are they all getting to the same place? Is there slight variations to their destinations? Which one's more effective also? Are different paths more effective depending on which person it is, what type of person it is? I think absolutely.
That's a good point, because it's all relative to the individual, right?
Go and be a monastic in India at a temple.
What does that mean?
I'd go and be a monk. Like,
okay.
That's obviously not my path. Why? Because I fucking hate it. I would be like, well, great. Now I eat tiny ass meals every day and have to sweep the temple every morning, make sure the incense tray is clean, and this is bullshit. I want TV and video games. So it wouldn't work for me. And then of course they'd just be like, you're attached as hell, dude, and be like, maybe your path is for people that have just the right amount of attachment to where they feel like that's the direction they need to go. And everyone else over here. Oh yeah, back to my statement of why the East and West are so different. I keep going off on like super long moose trail.
Because we were talking about metaphysics, and then I brought up, I was like, wait, is that the same thing as wait, why can I not think of the word at the moment? Alchemy. I was like, oh, is that the same thing as alchemy?
They're different.
And then you went in explaining alchemy, and then that led us down that rabbit hole.
Right on. Yeah. No, I'd say metaphysics is a subject of thought. Alchemy is a practice, actually.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, this dude that I was listening to a lecture of, he says, so the Eastern people, maybe it's because of their culture, you know, that they're fine with the people that are, you know, mystically inclined, feel the need to just sit down and look inside their mind for answers and do nothing else. And then he's like, but in the West here, we're kind of spoiled, and we kind of like everything out in front of us. We like playing with things. We like games and stuff like that. So then that's why we like following all these weird esoteric symbol systems that play with so much more symbols. And a lot of times there's a lot of different, in a lot of these different esoteric Western traditions, there's like trees you have to climb, like mental trees you have to climb so that you clear one part of your mind, and now you can move up there. And
it's like leveling up.
They use actual diagrams. Like I even
do you think that works in the West because we're so conditioned for achievement, or?
I think ultimately the whole point of the diagram is to eventually, when you get to the top, realize that there's no significance to it whatsoever. You know, it's similar to like.
But it's a good tracking guide.
It's a good tracking guide. It's similar to what Gautama would always say. He would always say that. The Buddha Dharma, meaning the path that I've taught. Buddha not referring to himself just like, the Alex Dharma. Not like me saying like that. Buddha means like to awaken. Like Bodhi means to awaken.
Okay.
So Dharma is basically like, could mean discipline, path, action, mental phenomena. It has like 1,000 definitions actually. I'm not even going to get into Dharma. But yeah, so he's basically saying the Buddha Dharma, the path to awakening, like, it's just supposed to be a raft. You're supposed to use it to get across the river of illusion, and then you're supposed to just kind of say like, all right, well, screw the raft now. We don't need it anymore. We're already past. So
and that's the point.
You don't keep dealing with the system, like, because Buddhism has this whole systematic approach, just like, kind of similar to the Western trees that I was talking about that you like go up, but.
As a tracking guide.
As like a tracking guide,
It's kind of like the belt ranks with like martial arts or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Until you realize it's like, oh, it doesn't fucking matter at all.
Yeah, so that's the idea behind it. Whether that works in practice, I don't know. I haven't climbed any of the trees. I haven't climbed any of them. But in a similar way, even though you can argue that the West, likes things in front of them and likes colors and games and patterns and climbing things. Even in the East, they have the same type of thing, like yoga. Like it's
probably just played upon the human reward system ultimately.
I think it is, yeah.
I don't think the cultural conditioning as much.
It's weird. I guess it makes you want to climb it. If they put some fake tree in front of you, you're like, I should get to the top.
I want to touch the leaves. I want to touch the leaves.
Yeah. That's fun. But yeah, no, it's all weird stuff to think about. It's all very strange.
It's strange if, like, I feel like I have such a novice understanding, but enough to hold a conversation with you.
No, I can.
But totally, like, if this was like completely new,
dude,
like,
no, you don't understand.
Like, blowing my
other
mind.
People, couldn't be having this conversation with. You understand it generally all right, but I feel like we've talked about similar stuff at least.
Absolutely.
But I'm still bringing in new concepts and stuff, and you're pretty much grasping it in a fair enough way, I can tell.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, gosh, I can think of everyone I'm thinking of right now. If I were to try to talk to them about this, it would take more getting through, I guess.
Absolutely.
I don't think there'd be any winning. I'd be like, I don't think you should learn about that.
It's like, you know what? You got your own path. I got my path.
Yeah, no.
You do you.
Yeah, no, it's weird to talk about. I don't really talk about it a lot with too many people. I almost feel like I'm not supposed to.
Well, it's just, like you said, it's so esoteric to anybody in modern society.
You either end up just sounding weird, crazy, or ignorantly stupid. So I just tend to not.
Right.
But at least I don't have to worry about being persecuted anymore.
Yeah, good point. There you go. There you go. Pros and cons. Give and take.
Pros
Give
and
and
cons,
take.
give and take. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's interesting. I can talk to some of my friends a lot about some of this stuff for sure. But like, for instance, my parents, like, they're not gonna want to listen to any of that. That malarkey. And it is malarkey, for sure, on a certain level. But I like malarkey.
There's a lot of truth in it, though, as well. And I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned. Like,
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, I
to
think
give up
malarkey-
attachment is the end of suffering. Like,
Stuff
these
like
things
that.
make sense. They make a lot of sense.
And how much you employ to any of that is, I feel like, up to everyone. You don't have to employ any of it. You can go kill people if you want.
Sure. You do you.
But I'm gonna stop you if you come close to anyone I love.
Yeah.
I should stop you anyway if I see it happening. I don't know.
They say
I don't
that?
know.
I think they say that it's like a bystander effect or something. That actually might be what it's called. But like apparently, so like if it's like a group of people, and say they're like, you see like a robber trying to mug a girl, and there are 5 people around, and they'll run experiments of the 4 people are pretty much, I don't want to say paid participants, but they're participating in just bystanding. And then the 5th person won't do anything as well because they'll see the 4 other people.
Oh, so
and they're
would
like,
they get
oh,
charged?
they're not doing anything. It's like a science. It's like an experiment.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
My bad. I didn't.
No,
I should've
you
laid
did.
that down.
You did say it was an experiment. So that's interesting.
But I think that actually is what it's called, the bystander effect. I don't know. Sometimes it's weird how ideas will like come to you sometimes. Because actually, this is interesting too. This is completely unrelated. I'm going on across the
go
rails
for
too.
it.
But like, dude, I'll be listening to my podcast. Like, I like to listen to this thing and like critique myself and like listen, and because the guests are interesting too. So listen for a multitude of variables. Yeah. But I'll just be like, you know what? I don't remember. Like, I don't know that. Like what I just said right then. I don't know that at this point in time.
Oh, interesting. Even though maybe you used to, or
yeah, like I'll say it at that moment with so much confidence. But
like any statement,
not anything, but like say I listened, like it happens frequently though, like to where I will spit some facts like that bystander effect and say I'm at the gym tomorrow listening to this podcast, hypothetically speaking, and I'm like, I don't know what the bystander effect is. Like I have no clue.
Oh, interesting. Even though you just
I just regurgitated all that information about what it is. Which, by the way, it might not even be called that, but
right. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, these concepts that I'm able to just spit out all this information on, and then whenever I'm at a different state at a different point in time, I just don't remember any of it, and I'm like, oh, that is right, that is true, and it's not that I'm like making shit up. It's that I just happen to know it at different points in time.
Yeah, no,
isn't that really
I feel
bizarre?
that. Yeah, it is kind of bizarre. It's almost like you can continually forget and remember things, which is probably true. Or I guess it's almost like you forget which drawer you put it in.
Yeah,
in your brain, and you're searching through.
Plus, I feel like right now I'm in a really active conversation state of mind where I'm like information's more accessible to me versus when I'm listening to it, it'd be like on a run or I'll be like focused.
Sure.
Okay, I just got it one step at a time. One step at a time.
Happening. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's an interesting experiment, though, the bystander effect. It's weird. It almost reminds me of. I forgot what it was called, but it's a famous experiment. You might have heard of it because I was taught it in school. but it's a psychological experiment where I guess they rounded up a bunch of, I hope they're volunteers, and they assigned half of them as prison guards and then half of them as prison mates. Did you hear about that one?
I feel like I've heard something around this, but I don't remember the end result.
And the prison guards ended up, like, taking their job way too fucking seriously and taking the role way too seriously. They basically assumed the role of prison guard and ended up being really harsh. Like, this experiment ended up being crazy. Like, I think some people had to go home because of, like, psychological, like, trauma-ish
No
shit.
way.
I think so. Let me psychology. I bet if
So
I
it's
type
like they
in
derive their sense of purpose from that.
from the role.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Just prison. I bet if I just.
I have a thought going off of that, but I want to hear you out first.
Cool. Prison experiment. I bet if I just type in prison experiment, it'll find it. The Stanford prison experiment. There you go. It's even a 2015.
These are all participants, and they're knowing of that.
I think so. Yeah.
They're like they know the other people aren't actually prisoners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it should be. Maybe, unless I'm tripping. The plot concerns... Okay, here it is. Perceived power, struggle between prisoners...
So it's the Stanford prison experiment?
Mm-hmm. It was conducted at Stanford University between August, blah, 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 by a research group led by Professor Philip Zimbardo, using college students. In the study, volunteers were randomly assigned to be either guards or prisoners. So yes, they all knew it was in a mock prison, with Zimbardo himself serving as the superintendent. Several prisoners left mid-experiment, and the whole experiment was abandoned after 6 days. Students quickly embraced their assigned roles, with some guards enforcing very authoritarian measures and ultimately subjecting some prisoners to psychological torture. Some of the people passively accepted psychological abuse, and at the officer's request, actively harassed other prisoners who tried to stop it. Yeah, so the experiment got really dark. But it's weird how you can bring out people's dark side just by slapping a name on them.
Yeah. Giving
So the
them
psyche is
power
really weird.
over other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for real. And then all of a sudden they're like, I can dig this. Yeah, it's kind of fucked up.
I'm loving this.
Yeah.
That's why, like, whenever people are like, fuck the police, I'm like, no, fuck corrupt authority.
Yeah.
It's not the police.
Yeah, for sure. Don't fuck all the police, or I'm not going to be protected in my home from criminals.
True. They're good police officers out there. Chill out.
Absolutely. But
That's interesting to me too, because like
you were about to say something.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Okay,
This next
cool.
thought. So it's like interesting, like where people derive their sense of purpose and meaning from as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't know, like some people are willing to accept different circumstances than maybe I would be. For example, like a good example I can think of is a few weeks back I went to Wendy's, and this girl was like super amiable, very charismatic, like super excited about, like you could tell she was like happy to be there at Wendy's. Mm-hmm. And there's one side of me that's like, you know what? That's so beautiful. Like she's taken on this job and she's doing her best and she's doing it with a positive attitude. It's so admirable.
Yeah.
But like there's another side of me, it's like, wow, you could tell like she derives some purpose from this job. Mm-hmm. And that's so wild to me, because these are circumstances that if I was at this job, not that I would like, I'd probably make the most of it. That's probably how I'd...
But I see what you're saying. It wouldn't be like, this is what time to do. You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? Like it's almost like you saw her energy is thriving on, like she lives with her purpose of
absolutely
working there and doing whatever else she does and stuff like that. And it's like you wouldn't maybe feel exactly like that if you were working there.
Absolutely.
Neither would I.
Because then there'd be a dose of, there'd be an ingredient of complacency if I was doing that. If I was like deriving all my meaning and all that from working at Wendy's, then it's like, no, like I need to achieve more than this.
It's weird, yeah.
I need more money than this ultimately, or whatever it may be.
I could definitely see why there would be that. Yeah, because that's how I'd feel working there too. Which is unfortunate, because I think if you're gonna play with the fun ways of purpose and meaning, I think the best way to probably do it would be that your purpose should be completely derived from whatever you're doing right now, all the time.
Okay.
Period. I think that would be the best way to do it. Because then you'll be at work, you're fulfilling your purpose. You'll be answering the phone, you're fulfilling your purpose. You're sitting down, you're fulfilling the purpose.
Even if you're going to label that and externalize that as like something that's bad or something you don't enjoy?
It depends. Are you stuck there for life? Like if you're in prison, what's healthier? To view it as your purpose, to just be there and be a good person there and be a loving person there for people around you even though you're in jail? Or would it be more healthy to view it as like, this fucking sucks, you know?
It's a good argument to make.
It is.
But ultimately that's going to cause, at least like mentally, like internally, that's just going to be resistance. That's just going to be resistance of current circumstances. And that's going to create a lot of suffering.
Of what?
The second one. So like be like, fuck this prison.
Yeah,
like I shouldn't be here anyway.
Definitely create more suffering, no doubt. You know, so I'm not saying that meaning derive your purpose from whatever you're doing in the exact moment in the sense of like, you know, I'm at McDonald's, so maybe I should stay at McDonald's and this is what I'm going to do forever. I don't mean it like that. I mean it that, you know, if you find yourself working at McDonald's, it's probably in your mind that you're probably not going to be working there forever. Mm-hmm. But while you are, fulfill your purpose. You know what I'm saying? And then when it's time to quit, that'll be your new purpose.
Okay, absolutely.
When it's time to go home, that'll be your new purpose. You know, if you're always living, you know, with the inspiration of purpose, you know, then I don't really know how you could go wrong. But it's hard to view it like that. I'm just talking. I don't even view it like that. I'm jealous of the projection that I just made that I do believe can be done. And maybe that girl does do it. Maybe you just only see her at that place, and when she goes home, she's still got that big smile on her face.
Sure.
It's not because of McDonald's, because she's home now. When it's at or was it even McDonald's? What did you say?
It was Wendy's, but yeah,
Wendy's.
we're good. Yeah,
when she's at Wendy's, she's happy to be at Wendy's. But
she's just a happy person.
She's just a happy person. But maybe not. Maybe, on the flip side, playing devil's argument to myself, maybe Wendy's is the only thing she looks forward to. Maybe when she gets in the car, she's just pissed that she has to get home. Her shitty ass boyfriend abuses her. And like, that's why she likes being at Wendy's so much. So, like, all I'm saying is it could be any either which way. But I think
my coworkers don't beat me.
He's like, I don't even care if I get a rude comment anyway. Like, at least I'm not getting my head slammed against the wall when I talk back. But yeah, so all that said, I guess I would still view it as, if you're going to play with things such as purpose and meaning, better not make it something in the future. Better make it now. You can still think about the future.
What about pure raw suffering? So like Viktor Frankl, for example, with his book, Man's Search for Meaning. Are you familiar with that at all?
No.
Okay,
but
so
your pure raw suffering made me laugh. I'm curious to what you're going to
So he lived through Auschwitz, the Nazi internment camp, like during the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. This dude, pretty much, I've only read the book once, and actually I've started reading it again recently. But it's pretty much, he discovered something called logotherapy, which has some. I don't even want to explain what logotherapy is because I'm going to butcher it.
Lego therapy.
Do what?
Lego therapy.
It's spelled like O or L-O...
O-G-O.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Is that how it's pronounced?
Oh, I don't know what the word... This one. I know what logos means, but I don't know what that means.
Okay. But yeah, pretty much something derived from like meaning, and he said that people that were able to find some sort of meaning, even if the meaning was in the future, of the Nazi internment camp, were able to more successfully survive and adapt to their environment. And he could tell when people were going to pass away, like before they actually passed, just off of mindset.
Nice.
Like if they like started playing the victim card and like, fuck this is awful, this internment camp's the worst. Then he could tell like within days, he's like, they're gonna be dead, like they're gonna die. And not just because they were like exterminated, but like because he could like just tell, like it's like that person's gonna go soon.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess to play devil's advocate with you, what would you say to somebody finding meaning in the future? It's like, okay.
So
like,
what future is he looking forward to?
Let's just throw, I don't know exactly what his is, but I'll throw out a hypothetical of, okay, once I get out, if I can survive
getting out.
this purest form of suffering that you could possibly imagine for the human conditioning.
For sure.
If I can survive this shit and make it on past like it, what I mean, he doesn't even have a time frame. He's just wanting to survive day to day, moment to moment. If I can survive this and anything they throw at me here, then I get to go see my wife, or I get to go play baseball with my kid.
Seeing the wife is the meaning. Seeing the wife would be the meaning.
Right.
Okay, no, see, that's a good argument. First I thought it was just going to be like getting out, but I guess I would say to that, if I were to at all tie it into my statement, I would say that I guess that is surviving would be the meaning. And, surviving. Not living your purpose or meaning or whatever, I guess, would be sitting at Wendy's sad that you're not somewhere else, even though you need to be working at Wendy's at that particular time. Like, he's not getting out right now. Well, he's already out now, I guess, because he wrote that book.
Right.
But I guess he wasn't getting out when he was thinking about his wife. But so that's kind of tricky, because it's almost like it's in the future, but you need to live it out right now to get there.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying...
It's almost like having something to look forward to.
Right. I'm not saying don't have goals, certainly, because that's almost like that, I guess. Because, yeah, I completely agree with that. 100%.
But so it's not even necessarily about finding pleasure or happiness in that process. It's about finding the meaning in that process.
I guess
and
so.
the meaning is survival so that you can see somebody you love.
You see somebody you love, yeah.
Or whatever's on the other side of the tunnel.
It's a shame if you don't fulfill that meaning, though, if you invest too much in it, though. And what if he does die short of her? Then will he feel like his life was a failure, necessarily? Or not? I don't know. It depends. I guess you just have to completely reconcile, and resolve all sorts of mental actions that disturb you, I guess, before you die. If you feel like there's unfinished business, then I feel like that
you just have to put it to peace.
Yeah, like if you were dying and you feel like you had unfinished business, that kind of suck.
That would suck.
Because it'd be like, I still really needed to do that. But maybe when you're dying, maybe you don't really give a fuck. Maybe everything's just sort of dissolved and you're just like, I'm just going to go with it, fuck it.
I'm out of this world.
I don't know. I guess it depends which mind it is. In what ways is it disturbed? But, yeah, I don't know. Things like, things like meaning and stuff like that is so weird to think about. Meaning and purpose. It's weird to think about. It's weird to think about for me because I don't have a full idea or really a strong, even solidified idea at all of what career I want to do, what sort of future I want to have. But if someone were to ask me, like, where do you get meaning and purpose from? It would be a hard question to answer, honestly, because I'm certainly not looking to someday in the future, even though sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I had more money right now. Shit like that. But I don't know. I guess the only reason I would get up in the morning is there does seem to feel like there's an obligation, because there's a lot of people that are attached to me, like my family, for instance. I can't just drop off, because I would feel bad. So that means I'm attached to them too.
Okay.
So I have links to people, and then that also involves my friends and my friendships and stuff. So I guess my relationships are one reason I get out of bed in the morning. What about days I don't have any plans to see anybody? Why do I get out of the bed in the morning on those days? I don't know. I guess I like stimulation. I like reading and stuff like that. Things I like doing. Purpose and meaning are such weird words to deal with for people that don't have a central purpose. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you? Like, for instance, I can't think of a central purpose for me right now. If I'm thinking of one, I can't. The only one I can kind of think of, but I'm kind of just forming it myself so I can show people it if they were to ask me the question. But I guess it kind of goes away.
So central person or central purpose referring to like one definitive thing that's like, yo, this is what I live for. This is what I live for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
That's a good point because it doesn't seem to
not
be like
there for me. All I'm trying to do right now, I feel like I'm just putting together all this bullshit in my mind real fast to try to come up with an answer.
It's almost a melting pot of things that all go into this.
I think it is.
The pot is meaning.
Mm-hmm. And the pot is like meaning, and there's all this stuff that jumbles up.
That's probably the healthiest. Yeah, I would think, like, even somebody who's like super obsessive, like Steve Jobs, who his to innovate and whatnot was like his meaning. He probably still had loved ones in his life that he'd throw in that pot. And,
yeah, no, for sure. No.
But
it's weird. It's almost like the pot has a tipping point for when meaning eventually becomes so meaningless. I guess that's when you kill yourself. Is that when people get depressed? And
what do you mean exactly?
When all of a sudden all the stuff that's in their pot seems to eventually spill out. All of a sudden they can't find any meaning.
It's a good point. Like maybe like they lose all their like relationships, break off, and that's like a big chunk of
But then you'll talk to people that feel like people that feel like I've realized that meaning is bullshit in general, and now I'm free from that. But is that realization his new purpose and his new meaning? Is that just get replaced?
That liberation and
that liberation. So now he's just like, this is why.
That's a good point. That's a good argument. It's kind of paradoxical in a way.
It's weird to think about meaning and purpose. Like it's weird. It's almost like we feel like we need some sort of job to do. Like, why do we need meaning and purpose? Why can't we hang out? Why can't we just hang out on this planet? Why, meaning and purpose, like, completely drives us. But humans are weird creatures for sure.
Dude, because I will say, like, a big contributing, I guess this intention that I hold is a very big variable and underlying purpose of my meaning, like my meaning for life. And that would be the intention of using free time, so like time I spend alone or time I have to myself or just free time in general, however you want to define that, to improving myself in some way, shape, or form. And that has gotten to the point of obsession that is actually difficult for me to just sit around and watch TV now.
Yeah.
Because I'm not contributing to it's hard for me to just be entertained now. Like FIFA is one of the only ways. Like, and even that I can't play very long. So I guess that's a big part of meaning as well.
Yeah, for sure. Do you view that as a good thing or a bad thing? I could view it as both, depending on what you want, really.
I view it as a good thing for this point in my life because from a consequentialist perspective, the result has been awesome.
Good.
Like not the finished product, but the product you see before you right now in comparison of where I was like a few years back. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's like exponential growth.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Which I'm super satisfied with that, but is that a negative thing? Because then again, I'll sit around and watch movies with my roommates.
Yeah.
So if it's a social thing, I can do it. But if I'm by myself,
it's harder to keep yourself entertained if you're not improving in some way.
Absolutely,
yeah, for sure.
It's like a point of obsession. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, it's a good obsession to have compared to most.
True. It's a good point. But also, that would probably drive back to like this podcast was a very big reasoning and I guess rationalization for like why I do that, like why I think that way. Because that's like a big part of the underlying purpose. Because I saw like Joe Rogan's a good example. I saw how fucking cool he is, and I was like, that'd be so cool if I could like improve myself and get really like awesome and more knowledgeable on topics, and then I could like
talk to a bunch of people, and be with it, and it's dope.
I love that dude. I love how he literally will have
He's been really good for you. I feel like
absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's been dope. Yeah,
and vice versa for you.
He's a cool guy. I actually was watching some JREs a couple days ago. Because remember how I don't watch it like all the time, even though I used to.
Yeah, I haven't been watching that much either lately.
Yeah, but I've been watching a few, and they're fun to watch. They're good. I always get something out of that. Yeah, it's good.
Sure, you always learn something in that show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because his guests he has some really cool guests on. He really does. He did a good job at that show. Like, I'm impressed.
I just love that creative route of being able to not pick and choose, but like just have your friends on, and then on top of that, if you can use the platform to like yo, you do.
Yeah.
Okay, good example in my personal life, like a lead or prospect, whatever you want to call it, of somebody I might have on now is a friend of mine went and got a tattoo recently, and he was talking to his tattoo artist, and apparently he's a super interesting guy. And she's like, hey, like, would you be interested in having this guy on your podcast? And I was like, yeah, like, that'd be cool. Like, a tattoo artist? Like, some guy who's, like, apparently he's been doing tattoos since he's 12, and now he's, like, 22 or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's just lived a really interesting life. And I was like, it's so cool to me because without this podcast, I wouldn't have the opportunity to sit down with, like, random people like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll probably learn something from the experience.
Absolutely. I'm sure you get
naive of
all
me not to
sorts of
think.
perspectives, every single guest. Like, yeah, no.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm in full support of your podcasting work.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on again.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
You want to wrap this up in a little bit, or
Sure.
what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Game. I don't really have too
What
much
time is
else
it?
to say.
Hour 45 minutes.
It's not too bad. It's a
That's
nice lengthy one, but not too lengthy.
True.
Because didn't you say our first one was like...
I think it was like 2.5 or something like that.
Yeah, that's like a long
lot
movie.
like that. Yeah, really.
Forcing people to strap in.
Actually, watching or listening to our old one, it was number 22. So listening
22.
to that the first time, I was annoyed with myself because I kept interrupting you. And
That's funny. I feel like when I listened to it one time, I did like it, but I felt annoyed with myself because I thought I was talking too much.
oh, really?
Yeah, really? You felt like you were interrupting me?
Yes, that's
I felt
hilarious.
Totally the way you did, but like with me.
Oh, that's funny. We're probably just listening it from like a self-critical point of view.
Yeah, no. I think that's normal when you look at yourself on video, but for sure, because I'm not on a lot of footage like ever.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, so that's interesting that we both kind of felt that way. Because when I would look back and I'd be like, man, I talk too much. Gotta let him talk more. And then this time, I didn't even think about it, really. Because once we start getting talking, it just kind of rolls. In
True.
some sort of way. There will be little breaks and pauses where it's almost like we can't find a path or whatever, and then eventually we're like, kind of make a little hack away some bushes and keep going.
I like that metaphor a lot. I like that metaphor.
What I thought of. But...
That's a good point, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But most of the time, it's a pretty fluid walk.
I mean, the only time I can think of that we like really weren't talking was when
we're like looking stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even that, we were like with the intention of about to start up a conversation again, get it rolling again.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know. I think it's pretty smooth.
Yeah, I will say that you're one of my like favorite people. Well, you're one of my favorite people to talk to in general. But with that being said, you're one of the best people I know with just being able to just flow with the conversation, just ride the wave of the conversation.
Honestly, I'm glad because I never really view myself as having any sort of like really good talking skills. I feel like I can communicate to people well enough, but see, here's my problem, and I don't know why this is because it's still the same words, but like I feel like I do a better job of communicating to the person I'm directly talking to.
Okay.
Communicating those ideas through, everything, whether it be hand motions, words, and vision, the way my eyes are, and the way my facial expressions work. But I feel like I have a bad problem of, I don't know, if I'm not directly talking to someone, I feel like I have a hard time explaining myself, I guess. Like if I'm trying to explain something. I don't know how to describe what I'm saying, I guess. I don't know. I just don't see myself as that great of a talker. So it's cool that you say that.
That's interesting. Interesting.
I'm definitely not a very good writer. I don't think. I don't know. I haven't turned.
That's interesting too because I've seen you. I see you as one of the more like articulate people at this age of people I like happen to know.
That's good. I would like to be very articulate.
That's goal of mine too.
Yeah.
After listening to Jordan Peterson, I was like, that dude knows how to fucking talk.
Yeah. Being able to talk is really nice. So it's a good skill to have on your belt. I should take some lessons. I don't even know if that's a thing.
Yeah, where do you go for talking
I don't
lessons?
know. I guess I just need to read more. And I've been reading a lot lately. I've been on kind of a reading
But don't you think like reading, that's like all just taking in?
I think it's taking in, but I do think it definitely influences the way your thoughts come into words. Because, I don't know, I feel like each book you read, you're almost getting like a new perspective. And not only that, but you're seeing the way he would talk his words in a certain way. And it's still written, and it's different than talking, but you can kind of see how his mind works.
Absolutely.
And when you see how he, like an author certainly describes something or just talks and explains things, it's almost like you get another view on how you can do the same with your speech. So I do think that reading actually does, I feel like, at least in my experience, reading has definitely made me talk differently. I feel like if I haven't read half the books I've read, I would talk different than I do.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Do.
But do you think there's, like, so you're working on that muscle of taking in information? Do you think it's important to learn on the putting out the...
integrating it?
Like implementing it? Or what do you mean by integrate?
Same thing.
Okay.
Implement, integrate it into, just your mind and your behavior and your talking and everything, I guess. But yeah, I think more work should be done to do that, which is why I don't always, but sometimes I'll take notes on the stuff I read. I'll see something that I'll read and I'll be like, that feels important to me. I'm going to write that down.
Absolutely.
And keep going, and then now I have a book of notes that's all things that I find helpful quotes that kind of remind me of a certain part in the book in a certain area that talks about something.
I respect that a lot because I started one and I just never got to it more.
Mm-hmm.
Is it pretty random or is it pretty organized or?
Well, the one notebook I'm thinking of, it's pretty much dedicated to pretty much esotericism in general.
Okay.
It has everything random in the sense of it's taken from a lot of different books. I'm reading all sorts of different authors, but it's random in that each page will jump into some book, and the next page will come back to referencing a book that was referenced 2 pages ago.
But it's all in the general same topic.
It's all in the general same topic.
Absolutely.
Though. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but yeah, even there, like there's a little stuff about Hindu texts, and then there'll be something Hermeticism. There's some alchemy in there.
Do you reference it a lot? Do you go back and read or?
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
that's so important. That is so important. I like that a lot.
Yeah, or else I'll forget. But I got rid of my last notebook. I don't even know why. It felt like something to do. I don't know why. I got rid of it. It was full. And now I'm like 2/5 the way through my second one. But one of them was full, and I was like, I'm going to throw it away. Just because I really like it, and I want to see what it feels like.
Really?
To have it going.
What did it feel like?
At first I was like, why did I throw that away? It had a lot of writing in it. And then I thought, okay, it's not like I forget all of it. I feel like I should start another one. And then I started another one. I thought about that the other day too. I have this, that little table that has a bunch of shit on it in my room. Little trinkets, little balls, and all sorts of random stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I call that the shrine. And in the very true sense of the word, it is a shrine. I use it as a shrine. I use it esoterically. I use it mystically, whatever you want to call it.
Interesting.
I thought about taking it in the backyard and torching it. And torching everything on it.
No way.
I didn't do it. I don't think I'm going to do it yet, but I'm too attached to it.
Uh-huh.
I think it'd be a great practice. It would absolutely fulfill the whole purpose of the shrine in the first place.
Uh-huh.
To burn the shrine is to understand the shrine. Self-surrender.
So what's the gratification you're kind of searching for?
The gratification was being attached to something and then seeing how well I can deal with losing it on my own accord.
Wow.
Yeah, no, so that's the idea. But, yeah, it's weird. I didn't do it. I think I'm going to do it eventually. I'll probably take off the gifts that people have given me. Because
that's fair.
I'm too attached.
Well, that's also, I feel like, I don't know, if I gave you a gift and you like had it in your shrine and then you were to burn it, I'd be like, what the fuck, Alex?
Yeah, I know. The gift, no, yeah. All the gifts.
You lit my gift on fire. Like,
I wanted to get rid of it. Like, whatever, dude.
you could have gave it to somebody else. That was $500, man.
That's a nice kid. Dude, you had your Xbox on the shrine. Just going in the fire. No,
Throw it in the flames.
yeah, I think I'd definitely take off all the gifts, but still have little trinkets that I do have some sort of value or attachment to. Why do I know I have value and attachment to? Because I take it from house to house and house. I've had the same shrine set up with all this, basically the same trinkets on it, the past 3 houses.
Okay.
You know, it's obviously something I like taking with me. So I figured maybe someday I should just torch it.
Well, if you torch it, are you going to get another one?
Yes. I would get another one.
Then what's the point?
I would get a new table. I love the table. I think it's perfect right now. That's the point.
Or do you think the idea of what you're trying to execute is to eliminate attachment to the concept or the actual
Not
material?
the concept yet. I'm going to be hanging around with shrines for a very long time.
Okay.
But no, but that's a really good question. That's a good one to ask. No, just the attachment to that particular
Okay.
shrine, that particular setup, all the particular material objects that actually have a place in my mind. I want to kick them out. And then I want to replace them. You know,
Makes sense. Makes a lot of
and that's
sense.
how nature works. So when things gets old, it breaks down, and then it gets replaced by new shit that pops up. So I figured it's a good practice for the mind to have. But no,
Just wait till you're financial. I'm not saying you're not, or you are or aren't, but as long as you're in a good financial standing, then I support that decision.
I'm not right now, which is why I'm not going to burn it. But not like that table costs anything. I'm sure that was $4 in flea market, no doubt. Yeah, and all the little trinkets. I mean, the little trinkets might be worth something total, for sure. There's a lot of like little rocks and stuff. Weird.
Would those even
But-
burn then?
No, I guess the rocks wouldn't even burn. I guess the rocks are sticking with me too. Or I could give the rocks away. That could be part of the.
There you go.
I
Throw
could
them in the lake.
I could invite people to the burning, and then I could give people rocks. It'll be like,
Oh, there you go.
This was on the shrine for 3 years, dude, and I like prayed to the shrine. So here you go.
You should make like wedding invitations. Like, hey, come to my burning. Come to my formal
God.
burning.
That'll just solidify my parents' mind. They'll just be like, he's a Satanist. He's building little idols and then he's burning them. So this is just
Our
ridiculous.
son's crazy. He's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Bananas.
I won't be inviting my parents to the shrine burning.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That was a good question, though. Are you trying to get rid of the concept altogether? That would be like, I mean, I don't even know what I'd put in that area of the room after I got rid of it. Just be.
Here's another question for you. This is something I pondered personally. So when people are to, I've pondered this for years, and I still don't know the answer fully. I don't know if I'll ever fully know the answer to this question. Okay, so when people are setting out to find, let's say, like a mate, to find a significant other, and obviously people have these ideas, a lot of like oh, they have to meet these expectations and all that. Even if you go in with no expectations, hypothetically speaking, do you like the person more, or do you like the idea of that person more? Because, like, I don't know, we kind of all have this paradigm that we're living with. Oh, once I get married and have kids, like, so it's almost like we have this idea, and then we find the person to fulfill that idea.
To fulfill it, I gotcha. So, are you saying which one wins, or like
Which one do you think is?
it's more important?
What do you think we value more? Do you think or what do you think we like more?
It's interesting you say that. I think in the most genuine, truest moments, when a couple is together and they like see each other, looking in their eyes, whatever, kissing or whatever, if it's the most genuine way of that, I think they definitely see that there's no competition between the real thing and the ideas we pose about them. But I think that can be easily forgotten when maybe you're at work and you have these ideas about the lady. I don't know. It's hard, also, honestly, also because I don't even I haven't had a significant other for a very long time personally. So it's like not something I deal with a lot, but it is something to ponder. I think it would obviously be best if we viewed them as important, not our ideas of what they need to be.
That's ideal. That's ideal.
Yeah, it's weird. Like when you're in a relationship, what would be your idea of them? I guess you're making a role for them to fulfill in your mind rather than just some sort of natural connection that you guys share.
Okay.
Would that be the difference, maybe? In other terms, I guess.
That would be yeah.
So instead, it's sort of just like, oh, cool. They kind of, complete me rather than we complete each other. It's more just based around
valuing the individual and who they are and what they are
and their freedom, but
in comparison to the role that you want to be fulfilled.
For them. Yeah, and that's interesting too because it's fulfilling roles is something you. I feel like that's also kind of hard to escape in a relationship because it's almost like a compromise. Like, obviously, you guys are gonna pick up certain roles in the relationship to play. I mean, in real life, not just sexually. But
I like it.
yeah, I don't know. That's interesting to think about too.
I'm really happy you brought that up because I'm about to have a conversation with somebody important in my life right now, or not right now, but like in the coming days.
Yeah.
And that's something to take in consideration. So I'm happy you said that.
Yeah. I'm not even exactly sure what I said 100%, but how you can't avoid the roles or
yeah,
something else, I gotcha. But so there's always going to be.
Because pretty long story short, without getting too into depth with this, but there's somebody who I really enjoy being in my life right now, but the role they play and their emotional availability isn't necessarily what I want. So it's like I want a different role for them, but they're just not maturity-wise there, and they're not necessarily wanting to be there either. They don't have any interest in commitment at this point. So it's been very difficult for me and a lot of struggle due to mental health. Like it's been very stressful from my perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And a lot of pondering their commitment to this and whatnot. And the passive role, from my perspective, has been too stressful for me to the point that I just need to cut it out.
You need to cut it out.
Just for selfish reasons.
For selfish reasons, but honestly, would it be healthier for you? And if it's healthier for you, wouldn't it be perhaps healthier for the people around you?
Possibly for them.
Possibly. It depends. I don't know the situation, so it's hard to read into.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I know you gave her an outline of it. I guess I don't know where her mind is in all this, but yeah. So that's interesting, I guess.
But regardless, even if it's taking away from her happiness, like the way I see it right now,
like if you cut it off.
And I just the way I see it is I have to.
Sometimes it has to. I mean,
it's just
the one serious relationship I had was in high school, and I had to cut it off because I didn't like her anymore. That's just how it was. Not that I didn't like her; I still liked her, but I didn't want what we had anymore. I don't know why. It just changed, I guess.
Okay.
And yes, it hurt her at the time, but I guarantee you it would hurt way more if I were to wait even longer and longer and kind of deal with it and then wait till it really explodes. So I say if it's not working and it's causing too much suffering and you can't see a way where it can be mended in a time that's desirable for you to end that particular suffering because of those roles or neglection of those roles, then cutting it off might be something to be considered, even though it's harder, way easier said than done, because it always sucks to hurt people's feelings when people's feelings are involved. But I don't know, sometimes you do have to prioritize of what is ultimately going to be healthiest, both in the short and the long run.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I guess that's my final advice from a person who doesn't deal with any ladies himself.
But that's great advice. That's great advice. And also the way I see it is, to be completely honest with you, I think it's sacrificing the short term for the long term.
I think probably if you do feel it's not something that'll be mended and that will actually grow into something really radical.
Because the connection's still there. It's undeniable. I have a really special connection with this individual.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
I like that answer though a lot because I've asked other people that and they've given me their feedback, and I like what they had to say too.
Yeah,
but like that's
absolutely.
probably my favorite answer that I've received.
Yeah.
It's that role. It's that role they're playing.
Right. I mean, that's just the way I see it. You know.
But but that role, it kind of all the individual kind of integrates into that role, and they got to be reconciled to an extent. Because if you don't have certain expectations, not that you need to be creating all these expectations, but if certain things aren't fulfilled, then it could lead.
Pretty much, it's like this. If you're looking for something in a relationship and it's not being delivered, then maybe it's not the right relationship. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
That's just a simpler way to look at it. Because I can see what you mean, and I can see why that would be an important question. The original one that brought us on these kinds of topics of what's more important, the role that they fulfill for you or who they are. I mean, obviously who they are is most important, but just because that who they are is very important doesn't mean that a relationship is necessarily, or whatever relationship is going on is necessarily going to work.
Right.
You know, but obviously the person is always more important than our ideas about people. I think anybody knows that. But yeah, I guess if the relationship isn't fulfilling what you want in a relationship, then try to amend it. And if you don't see that it can be amended, or will be amended to a point to where you guys can grow from it and be in a relationship that both of you are happy with, and fulfill each other's roles that both of you are happy with, then I guess I don't see the point in going for the long haul, I guess.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah,
and we're also
again,
talking
there's so much I don't know about it, and yeah.
But this is still great. No, this is like awesome advice. This is awesome advice, honestly.
Right.
And a different perspective as well.
Yeah, totally.
And we're also talking exclusively about this point in time in comparison to.
Totally.
I'm very, to be honest, yeah.
Things change big time, you know? You know, maybe in like 4 days, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm kind of liking where we're at.
Sure.
Liking where we're at. You know, I don't know where it'll go, you know? So it's up to you. And it's always weird. Advice is always weird to ask for because it always still ends up being what you got to do.
Yeah,
your
good
decision.
point.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like an option.
A lot of times I'll ask for advice and I'm hoping that someone will say something so that I can choose one or the other. But it's always like, it's whatever you want, bro. That always what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh. But yeah.
That's a good point.
I wish you luck in it though.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I like that. I like the advice. With like what you said about advice. Advice about advice.
Advice about
Yeah,
advice.
like how people giving them the options of what you actually think instead of, man, you just do you. Because it's a more thoughtful approach.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, ultimately, it still lands on you doing what you choose.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's good to get these like other
Perspectives.
paths, these
Yeah.
other perspectives that could lead to ultimate.
So then you
like,
can
different
have something
variables.
to contemplate.
Absolutely.
So you can come to your own decision, you know. But, yeah.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
do you have anything else on your mind?
Not that I can think of, really.
This was a great number 99.
Number 99.
99.
Look at that.
That's easy to remember, right?
Very easy to remember. 22, 99.
Yeah.
So we'll just make sure I'm always in
The double
the
numbers.
double number.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. It's been an honor
Absolutely.
being on your show for the second time. Is that thing still running or not?
No, that died a little bit ago.
Okay. I figured it.
Figured, yeah, same.
Yeah, but
How long does this now? 2 hours, 7 minutes.
2 hours, 7 minutes. Nice. Well,
Good amount of time.
We reached a good amount of time.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Cool. Well, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Yeah. Cool. Deuces.
Pod 99 # subscribe.
Subscribe, bitches. Subscribe, bitches.